Good morning, friends and family, and welcome to our Walking with Jesus daily devotional for today, August the 20th, 2019, my beautiful wife Melissa's birthday. So if you see her around town or you're friends with her on Facebook, don't hesitate to hop over and say happy birthday to her. But today's devotion comes from Matthew chapter 15 and Mark chapter 7, where we are looking at the story of Jesus healing many, and especially where he heals a deaf man. So, today's readings come from Matthew 15:29 through 31. Jesus returned to the Sea of Galilee and climbed a hill and sat down. A vast crowd brought to him people who were lame, blind, crippled, those who couldn't speak, and many others. They laid them before Jesus, and he healed them all. The crowd was amazed. Those who hadn't been able to speak were talking. The crippled were made well. The lame were walking, and the blind could see again. They praised the God of Israel. And then Mark chapter 7, verses 31 through 37. Jesus left Tyre and went up to Sidon before going back to the Sea of Galilee and the region of the 10 towns. A deaf man with a speech impediment was brought to him, and the people begged Jesus to lay his hands on the man to heal him. Jesus led him away from the crowd so they could be alone. He put his fingers in the man's ears, then spit on his own fingers. He touched the man's tongue. Looking up to heaven, he sighed and said, Ephphatha, which means, be opened. Instantly the man could hear perfectly, and his tongue was freed so he could speak plainly. Jesus told the crowd not to tell anyone, but the more he told them not to, the more they spread the news. They were completely amazed and said again and again, everything he does is wonderful. He even makes the deaf to hear and gives speech to those who cannot speak. So just a couple of thoughts. The reality is, I think it seems like, and maybe I'm reading into it, but it seems like Jesus has greater things in store, and yet the people keep bringing their sick and they're deaf and they're lame, and I kind of got a hint that he wants to do other things, and so he pulls this man aside in Mark's gospel and he ministers to him personally. The reality is Jesus is not Santa Claus. I've heard a lot of people almost treat him like Santa Claus. Here's my wish list of everything I want. Lord, here's all these sick people we want you to heal. And I believe Jesus does want to heal people, and I believe Jesus does want to show us his love and his blessings and his compassion. And yet, more than that, he doesn't just want to be our healer. He doesn't just want to be our Savior. He wants us to know him, and he wants to know us. God knows you for exactly who you are, but he wants you to know him as well. And so you have this unique individual story of this man being healed in a very unique and personal way. A man who was blind and deaf had no way of communicating with the world, really. I mean, this was before Braille. This is before sign language. He probably just grunted and pointed and hoped that his friends and his family, those he had, would help him. And so here Jesus takes him aside, one-on-one, touches him, looks at him, talks with him, gives him a unique healing. And I think Jesus wants to do the same thing for us today. He wants us to set aside time to come apart with him so that we can commune with him friend to friend, so that we can tell him exactly what it is that we're struggling with, and he can walk with us through that. And he can be our friend, our confidant, our God. I never cease to be amazed at the story at the beginning of the Bible in Genesis, where God is walking with Adam in the garden. I remember early on where it talks about Abraham being like a friend of God. I don't think that those are coincidences. I don't think it's a coincidence that Jesus pulled 12 men aside and created a small band of friends, disciples, that he spent his life with them. I don't think it's a coincidence that out of those, Jesus pulled 3 individuals together and showed them very specific things, drawing them closer to him. The miracles are powerful, but more than that, they're personal. And so I don't know where God has you today, and I don't know what you're looking for from God, but I pray that you encounter the personal God today. Have a blessed day, and happy birthday to my wife, Melissa.